So now let's talk about the waterfall style of project management. So we've talked about wireframes and prototypes and even MVPs, but in order to actually build your project, you're going to have to manage building your project, and that is going to require many times that you use other people's services, whether it's fellow teammates or employees, contractors, or vendors. It's going to mean you're going to have to get access to resources, whether that is renting VPSs, virtual servers up on the internet, or actually building servers and putting them somewhere. Basically, in order to build out your overall platform that you're going to be creating, you are going to have to manage it as a project. So there are a number of different project management styles, and the old school way of doing project management is something called the waterfall style. So basically with the waterfall style, either somebody comes to you or you come up with an idea of basically a product that will solve some type of problem. So a CEO may come to you and say, I need a CRM solution, or I need an invoicing solution, or I need a website or something like that. They basically come to you with an overall idea of what it is that they're looking for. You then find out what their budget and resources are. How much are they willing to pay for this? Are they willing to pay $500, $500,000, 5 cents? Basically, what are they willing to put on the table in order to create the project? Then you go out to the vested interest, basically anybody that is going to be interacting with the system. So this may be managers, this may be employees that are interacting with the system. You may even go out and interview customers and basically figure out what the customers may want out of this particular system to make sure it works well for everybody. And then you sit down and you create a full-fledged plan. So basically, you figure out the resources that are required, you figure out the steps that need to be done in order to create the project, you figure out what positions need to be hired for, the whole 9 yards. So basically, you come up with one big old plan with what all the resources are, what all the expectations are, the expected cost for this entire thing, and then you go to the customer and you say, this is the plan, do you sign off on it? And basically you then haggle and argue about cost and resources and a whole bunch of stuff, and at some point they sign off on it and they say, okay, go build that. So when you think about like waterfall style of project management, think about like building a house, right? If you're going to have a house built, you will go to a builder and you'll say, I want a house. And then they'll say, great, what kind of house? And then you'll go back and forth, then you'll figure out how big you want the house and what kind of refrigerator you want in the house. And I don't know, the carpet and the hardwood floors and all that kind of stuff. And they'll come back to you with a price and how long it will take. And then you sign off on it. And then they go build the house, right? Basically with this style, what is nice is everybody knows what the expectation should be. You have a good idea of how much money is on the table, and you can just go and do the work, right? The customer gives you the job, you go away for a week or a month or a year, and then you come back and basically you deliver them, if not the final product, most of the product, like 98% of the product, right? Maybe you have to change some CSS, maybe you have to change some user interface stuff, that type of thing. But overall, the product is there. And then they go and they take a look at the product and they say, okay, well, we need this moved a little bit, and we need this changed a little bit, and adjust this one way or the other. You finish all that up, you then get the sign off. They accept your finished project, and they write you the final check, and then away you go. So the nice part about waterfall project management is you figure out what the hell you're doing before you start building anything. You get buy-in from the customer to make sure that this is actually what they want. You go and build it, and then you have something to deliver at the end. The problem with waterfall project management is that it is relatively inflexible. So just like when you're going to build a house, if you decide, oh, I don't really want the wall there, I want the wall 5 feet to the right or 5 feet to the left, something like that. The issue is you then have to go through a change procedure, right? So many times you'll say, okay, I want that wall moved, or I want a different database used. Imagine you're building out this system. Initially you said I want this built on Postgres. For some reason you figured out, oh, MongoDB will actually be better. The thing is, in the waterfall system, I'm billing you off of the project that we agreed to. We agreed to Postgres, we didn't agree to MongoDB. If you want to change over to MongoDB, that's fine, but let me go. I'm gonna write everything out. I'm gonna figure out some more requirements and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to tell you what the new price is going to be. And we're not gonna start doing that work until you agree, right? That's the whole change order process. And so one of the big issues with the whole waterfall system is if you need to change things in the middle, it can be a very tedious thing. The other thing is, since you're basically building the entire project for the customer, there's not a lot of testing during the build process. Now there is testing. You test to make sure the database works. You test to make sure the APIs work. You test to make sure it functionally works. But generally you don't do a lot of testing to verify this is what the hell the users actually want. Right? You were told to build X number of interfaces for the users. This is what they should look like. And you're just building for that. Right? The users don't get to find out whether or not they actually like that interface essentially until the end of the process, and you're delivering it to the users, and then the users start screaming because who the hell thought it was a good idea to put this button there and that button there, and why is that a drop-down box instead of something else, right? Rawr! And so that's one of the downsides with the waterfall project management style. So back when I had my company and we went out and we installed digital surveillance systems, when we installed servers, when we installed telephone systems, that type of thing, that was very good for the waterfall project management system, because basically, we know we need a server. So it's like, okay, so you want a voice over IP telephone system. How many lines are we going to install? Okay, we're going to install 20. If we're going to have 20, that means we need this particular server. Okay, where are all these phones going to be located? Okay, that means we need to do, 2,000, feet of running cable and a few other things. Here you go, right? So basically, more or less, we weren't getting a lot of change orders for putting in surveillance systems or telephone systems, that type of deal. And that's where waterfall project management is really kind of used, and kind of like these old school technology projects. The issue where you run into problems with the waterfall style is in like this newfangled world, especially in the startup world. So what happens when you need to start building before you really know what you're building? Right, that's one of the big things. Again, we talked about that with the kind of like the minimum viable product. Create something that has the minimum amount of functionality, just to push that out to the users to figure out what it is the users want, right? In that kind of environment, the waterfall project management style really kind of falls flat because it is a very document-heavy process. It's a very authorization-heavy process. And to be clear, just getting somebody's signature, on a document can take a surprising amount of time, even if they agree. Even if they're 110% behind this project, even if they trust you with their own kid, right? It's not that. It's just simply when you're going through the waterfall style, you're going to need to get sign-offs from people if for changes or anything else. And sometimes literally running after people simply to get their signature can take a shocking amount of time. But anyways, that is the basic idea of what the waterfall project management style is. We will talk about this type of thing later, most likely in other classes where we can really just break this down. I just want to give you this overall view of what it is. So when you start designing the solutions that you're going to be creating, you think of that as one particular way to manage the project for creating the solution.